So
Hey, Demi, just a reminder to record.
thanks, Russ. I would have forgotten. All right, and I'm also going to try to share my screen. All right, I think you're seeing what I want you to see. I never understand when I have dual screens, how to manage all of them. Are you seeing a screen with some orange signs on it?
Yes.
Perfect. I just wanted to put this up as we kind of get started, because if you're like me, you like to know what you got yourself into. And I know your time is very important. So if there's something specific you logged onto this call for, hopefully it's on this list here. And this is the order we're going to try to go in. So if you have a specific question about COVID, or you know what to pack for camp, you'll kind of have a sense of how long you need to stay on the call till you hear that information. And we'll open up for Q&A at the very end too. And if you do have to log off here at some point, we will be recording this and will be shared via email and posted on our website and all that for you to access later. And you're always more than welcome to email us or call us individually with any specific questions that you might have. So we'll just start with doing some introductions, welcome you, go over some COVID information, go through forms and how to navigate all of that. Go over some things to know while your camper is at camp, such as what's the camp store? How can I see photos of my camper? How can I communicate with my camper? Some packing tips and first-time camper tips, the daily schedule, some information about the staff and the training they go through, and some special information for kids that are staying for multiple weeks. So yeah, we will go ahead and get started with all of that. And I'll be doing a little bit of multitasking. So bear with me as I also let people in and talk a little bit too. But just want to start off by introducing a few of the full-time staff on here and a few of our seasonal staff as well. So my name is Demi and I'm the camp director. My history at camp started as a 2-year-old. I started coming to family camp back in the day. I grew up in Rochester, so that was kind of my main connection to camp, and came for a while as a family camper, did some kid camp, did CIT, worked for a few summers, mostly out with the horses. Then I left Minnesota for 5 years, lived out in Utah, but returned when I could be here full time. So I've been up here full time now for about 3 years, and happy to be in this role. And I also have a side gig as a therapist. So I do have a graduate degree in counseling, which definitely comes in handy in this role. So that's me, and I'll pass it over to Margaret.
Hi, everybody. I am Margaret, and I am the assistant director. I am new to this position. I started back in, I think, November. I have been actually living up here for about 3 years. I recently got engaged to a previous full-time staff member. He was a facilities director, and we kind of swapped roles, and now I'm working here full-time. And I'm super excited to meet all your campers and meet parents if you drop them off. It's going to be a really good summer. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Margaret. And before we jump over to Russ, I am going to ask our summer management team. I know we have a few on here. I know I saw Andy, I saw Liz, and it looks like Katie just came on. So Andy, do you want to introduce yourself real quick?
Yeah, hi. My name's, well, it says Andrew, but most people call me Andy. I have been coming to camp since I think I was about 12 years old. Really excited to be counselor coordinator this year. It's gonna be my first summer in that role. Some of you campers, you may know me from the beach, or maybe I was your counselor a few years ago, but I'm super excited to see y'all this summer. And I guess I think that's it, yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Andy. Liz, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Liz. I'm your other counselor coordinator for this summer. This will be my first year in the role, same as Andy, and I'm just so excited to see you all this summer. Thank you.
And I saw Katie Davis just logged in, so I'm probably catching her off guard. But Katie, if you can hear me and you're willing, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Katie. I'm the program director this summer. And in past summers, I've worked at the boathouse and as a counselor, stuff like that. So I'm really excited for this summer.
Awesome. Thanks, Katie. And I'm just going to do one more quick plug and reminder. We will be doing some breakout rooms here later. So parents and guardians will stay in the main room with us while we talk about camp info, and campers, if they so choose, will be put in a breakout room with a bunch of our counselors to do some get to know you games, maybe sing some songs and do other much more fun, exciting stuff. So if you are a camper on this call, please put a C in front of your name. And if you are a staff member, please put an S in front of your name, which also means if you are logged in on the same computer, camper and parent, if you have the ability to be on 2 devices, I would recommend it. So thank you. Russ, do you want to introduce yourself quick? And then before you jump into all of your pieces, I am gonna do the breakout rooms then. So while you're talking, just keep talking. I'll get breakout rooms kind of situated, and then we can start going into our agenda.
Thanks, Demi. And I'm guessing you want me to talk for a little longer, so you can do that. All right. Well, welcome, everybody. My name is Russ Link. I am the executive director at Camp Olson YMCA. I have been in this role 20 years, and I've spent my entire adult life in camp. So I'm really excited to see all of your faces, our future campers, some for the very first time. I'm seeing campers that have been with us for many years. And parents, thank you for logging in with your kids as well. We're excited that you're going to be with us this summer, sharing the spirit of the Northwoods. And that's our tagline, everybody. It's part of our mission statement. But we always say we share the spirit of the Northwoods, which means you come up and you spend most of your time outdoors amongst trees and on the water and in the lake. And we share this wonderful spirit up here in the Northwoods of Minnesota. And so we're really excited you're with us. 68 years, that's how old Camp Olson is. So we've been doing this for 68 years, and we're excited again for this summer. Very soon we'll celebrate our 70th anniversary, but 68 is a big milestone for us. And there are a lot of people that have been with us for a lot of those years. And so you're coming to a place where people really stick with us for a long, long time. It's not uncommon for somebody like Andy or Katie, who already introduced themselves, to have been with us since the time they were 2, because they got to come to family camp. But now then they come to kid camp, then they become staff members, then they go to college, and then they come back and bring their own families. So it's a really exciting part of being part of the spirit of the Northwoods. As most of you are aware, Camp Olson has really, like many of you, struggled a little bit during the pandemic, right? We could not even have camp in 2020. That meant all of our campers, almost 800 campers in 2020 that were registered, could not even come to camp. And that was really sad for us. We called it the lost summer. And that's what it felt like, a lost summer. But then in 2021, last year, maybe for some of you, that was your very first time, we did run camp. And believe it or not, even through this crazy pandemic, we did not have one case of COVID last summer, the entire summer. And that was amazing. But we were fortunate. As we know, COVID was kind of on a little standstill last summer. And that brings me to my next thing, is to talk a little bit about COVID this summer and where we're at and where we're going. So we know there's this like little tick of resurgence and
Russ, I'm going to pause you for a second.
Okay.
I think we're ready. And I'll be honest,
ready?
I've been in breakout rooms before. I've never had to assign breakout rooms. So
You're going to do fine.
I think this will work. Y'all actually made it pretty easy. So thank you for adjusting your names. I'm going to click a button that says open all rooms, and I'm hoping just our campers and our staff move and everyone else stays here. So please cross your fingers with me while I push this button and we'll see what happens. Looks like maybe it'll work. Oh, yeah, I'm seeing some folks leave. Okay, I think it's working.
Yeah,
I think it's working.
I don't see
All
any
right,
C's in the
Russ,
room.
go ahead and continue.
Yeah, I see one C yet. I'll let you look for those.
Yep,
And,
I know there was a couple that wanted to stay in here, so.
okay, perfect. Well, great. So I just want to update everybody on what COVID is going to look like in camp this summer, what we're thinking it's going to be, and how we're going to handle this. So we know there's a little bit of resurgence coming on with COVID right now, breakout cases, another variant. And so last year, you maybe recall, we required, proof of vaccination for all of our staff, and we are requiring that for our staff members again this summer. So all of our staff do have to come in with proof of vaccination. We are asked, our campers do not, though we are strongly encouraging that. So if you have the ability to get your campers vaccinated, that will be really helpful to us in keeping camp healthy this summer as well. Beyond that, we are requiring all of our staff members and all of our campers within 72 hours of coming to camp to have a COVID test. We don't care if it's an over-the-counter, can be an antigen test, it can be a PCR test, but within 72 hours of coming to camp, we are asking all of our staff and campers to have a COVID test, because we know vaccination alone doesn't prevent you from getting COVID. And so we really want all of our people coming into camp every week to know that they're COVID-free before coming to camp. And that can be over the counter. You can order those off of still, I believe you can buy them in pharmacies. You can get them off the USA Gov site. And so try to find even an at-home COVID test. We are not going to ask for proof of the test that you did it. We don't need to see the negative test, but whether you put your camper on the bus or you drop them off at camp, you will sign a form attesting to the fact that your child was tested and tested negative within 72 hours of coming to camp. So it'll be an attestment paper that you will sign telling us that's what happened. And that will give us peace of mind and all of our other families peace of mind that we are doing our due diligence and our best to keep camp COVID free this summer. So you will sign that attestment. On that attestment paper, we'll inquire about your vaccination status, and we'll just ask a yes or no question. Is your camper vaccinated? Yes or no. And that will help us give us a real quick reference without every week having to go in and dig through files or make a phone call to you to know when a camper checks in, we're going to ask that question. So that's really important. Those are really two important pieces of coming to camp this summer. So why do we feel vaccination is important? Well, I am less confident this summer than going into last summer. I believe we probably will see a case of COVID in camp this summer. The nature of how we're going. And I'll tell everyone really up front right away that if once your child is in camp and they have COVID and they get tested positive for COVID in camp, we will have to send them home. Obviously, we can't have that rapid of a virus spreading around camp if somebody's positive with COVID in camp. So anybody that tests positive will be sent home. If they're a camper, our staff members will be isolated. Also try to get them sent home for a period of 5 days. So if you have a multiple week camper, they're with us for 3 or 4 weeks, we will follow the CD's recommendation on quarantining after you test positive. From there, any other camper that was in close contact with that camper will have a test at camp. And we have 1,700 test kits at camp right now. So if a camper tests positive, we will test all of the other campers that camper was in close contact. And for us, close contact will generally mean their same cabin group, or maybe if they're a riding camper, all of those campers in our riding program for that week. We will test all of those campers and hopefully we don't experience any other positives. However, one of the caveats that we do have to follow, and we are going to follow for the safety of the campers unvaccinated, that if a camper that is unvaccinated has a significant exposure to a camper that tests positive in camp, that unvaccinated camper will also go home. And again, we want to look out for the best interest of that child. And we know somebody unvaccinated can become more severely ill than somebody vaccinated. At least that's what we're told and following CDC guidance there. So I want to stop real quickly on vaccination and testing to see if there's any questions on what you have to do, what procedures you have to take place. So have a negative test within 72 hours prior to coming to camp. Attest to the fact that that was negative and that you did that, and then your campers coming to camp, and the same will be true with our staff. So I'm a camper. Can I be moved to the breakout room? Oh yeah, we'll get you there. Any other questions?
There's two of you with that name though, so I'm not sure
Ooh.
which one wants to go. So if you're able to, whoever wants to go, if you click
What?
over your image, there should be 3 dots. You can rename yourself, add a C somewhere in your name.
Or if you unmute and just say hi, we'll see your face.
Well, that won't tell me on my list
Oh.
of names.
All right, I'm not seeing any questions, hearing any questions on our COVID policy. So let me, on at least our testing policy. So let me move on from there. So we understand there's going to be some challenges, but we also know last summer we learned a lot about how to manage camp in this COVID era. So when you came to registration day last year, if you were multiple times here, you noticed we had 3 or 4 different kind of registration areas. You'll be greeted at the parking lot. You'll go to a tent where you'll register your child for camp that day or check them in that day. And then we will probably ask that parents don't linger in camp very long. We don't know, we're not asking you to be tested prior to coming to camp, and we don't know if other adults could bring COVID in. So don't be surprised when we greet you at your car, if we ask other adults in your car to mask for the half hour or 30 minutes you might be in camp, just to protect our environment as we do so. We will send you to a registration area. You will be allowed to walk your camper to their cabin yet. We may ask you not go inside the cabin. We realize we want to keep people outdoors as much as possible. Walk your camper to the cabin. You'll meet their counselor, be able to ask the counselor all kinds of questions, and then you'll be on your way from there. And so that will kind of be the check-in process. You'll have a chance to speak to the nurse directly, meet the counselor. All of those things will still be ongoing. Other than that, in camp, we really hope to be pretty normal. We're not going to be wearing masks in camp for campers. So no mask for campers. However, if we would have an outbreak, we would ask that you try to send 1 or 2 along. We have plenty of masks here, but if for some reason we're seeing a little outbreak or people, we have some test positive, we might have our campers start wearing them again. So if you can, send a couple of masks along with your camper. Our plan is not to wear them. We will not be modifying activities. So all of our activity areas will be open, which includes, for all of you older campers online or Discovery, our afternoon free time. So free time will exist as planned. You will commingle with other campers. We will not be cohorting or potting by different groups. We believe we're past that stage because that time is almost always outdoors. Very close to the opening of camp or to the starting of your session, we will make a deciding factor if we will be eating in shifts or not. Last year, we started eating in 3 shifts. We moved to 2 shifts, and we stayed in 2 shifts the rest of the summer. Our plan right now is to eat in 1 shift, but we feed 220 people a day per meal. So as you can see, that's a lot of people in our dining hall. We will encourage outdoor eating as much as possible. We've made all kinds of extra picnic tables this year. So being outdoors as much as possible. And depending upon where COVID's at in the state of Minnesota at the time, we might eat in 2 shifts just to not have all 220 people in the dining hall at one time. Other than that, I think that's really where we're at in managing COVID this summer. You know, we want our kids to be out there, be free. So no masking, no potting, all activities open. The dining hall, if we go into like a severe weather shelter space, that might be a space where we'll have our mask there too, but we may ask your campers just to grab a mask. We're going to be in the severe weather shelters for maybe an hour. Everyone grab your mask so we can wear that because we're pretty crammed in our severe weather shelters. All right, I'm going to turn this back for other questions related to COVID and how we're managing it at camp this summer. Okay, if a vaccinated camper has an exposure and then test negative, what next? Okay, so if a vaccinated camper in camp was exposed to somebody with COVID, we give them a test, they test negative, they're with us. Nothing else happens. That camper will just stay with us in camp, in their group, just like they tested negative when they first came to camp. So we may do another test 3 days later on that group, just to be sure that they haven't picked it up or showing signs or symptoms. And of course, we will symptomatically or testing symptomatically any camper that shows any symptoms of COVID throughout camp. And the same will be true if you have a camper going on an extended trip with us to the Boundary Water or Isle Royale, Voyageurs National Park, or the Superior Hiking Trail. We will probably give all of those campers a COVID test before they depart for their 4 or 8 day trail experience. So we know we're sending them out healthy on trail as well. Well, great. I think we're ready for this. We know it's going to be a challenge, and we're hoping it tames down again like it did last time, and we're all outdoors more and less people indoors. But again, I think there's some other unique challenges going into this year as well. So feel free to, we will have, whenever you go to our website, there's a great little contact us button there. You can ask us any questions you want at any time. You can direct your question to me, to Demi, to Margaret. If you have a financial question, to our office manager, we're here. I mean, we know that you are and your children are really looking forward to camp, maybe you more than their children. And so we can't wait for them to be with us this summer. We're excited. But again, you know, feel free to reach out to us anytime you have a question about what's going on in camp.
Hey, Russ, real quick about the COVID. If the camper is not vaccinated, comes out positive, comes home, and then is then free of COVID, can they come back to camp?
Yeah, definitely. So let's say your camper is exposed to COVID, they're not vaccinated, and we require them to go home. We'll follow the CDC guidelines, right? That depending, hopefully you're a multiple week camper, but I believe the current guidelines are 5 days after you've been exposed to go into quarantine. And so then they could come back, and we will do everything in our power, if that happened on a Monday, to reschedule you later in the summer. Most of you know we are nearly at 100% occupied this summer, and we have been almost since the beginning of March. So, I mean, yet this is the time of year we see some cancellations, people overbook or overschedule and think, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? So we are seeing some random openings. We probably still have 40 to 50 campers on our waiting list to get into camp this summer. So we're working through those as well, slowly. But any camper that gets canceled out because of COVID, maybe before you come, they test positive, you will move to the top of our wait list for a later session as well. We believe we owe that to you for being with us and registering early as well. So you will move to the top of our wait list. If you test positive on the day you're supposed to come to camp, you'll let us know that. And if it doesn't work out, any COVID related cancellations are fully refundable. So if we send a camper home, we'll prorate it. If you test positive on the day you're supposed to come to camp, we believe that was out of your control, and that's a refundable deposit and payments from that point forward.
Thank you.
All right, Demi, I'll watch the chat. We can catch questions more later. Thank you all again. Thank you for trusting Camp Olson with sending your child to camp, and for us providing just an awesome experience for this summer. We are very grateful for that.
Definitely. Thanks, Russ, for that. We're going to move now into kind of how to navigate the parent portal and forms. For some of you returning campers, the procedure has not changed. You'll still log into your camp portal the way you always have, and forms are there like they've always been. But I am just going to share my screen again and kind of show new parents, or hey, once a year, it's hard to remember to do those things. So even returning parents might be helpful to see it again. So share my screen. All right, and I apologize if I'm looking not at you. The screen that's being shared is my other screen, so I'll try to look back and forth. So this is the camp homepage, and on here you'll find lots of information. Lots of questions you have are probably in here somewhere, though don't feel like you always have to go looking for something. We don't mind if you call or email us too. But you'll find a lot of good information here under the Parents tab. Packing list, frequently asked questions, descriptions of what it's like to be at camp, the schedule, if you need to apply for financial assistance. But what we're going to do here is just click Parent Login. And that will bring you to this screen where you will enter in your email address that you used to register your camper and the password that you made. If you forgot, that's okay. There is a retrieve button right there. And I'm gonna be a little sneaky because I can never remember my password, so I logged in a different way. So once you log in, this is what will pop up for you, your camper forms. Any of the ones that are bolded are going to be required. Any of the ones that aren't bolded are not required, though encouraged if they apply to you. So for example, you only need to do the asthma questionnaire if your camper has asthma. However, the mental, emotional, and social health questionnaire would be recommended for all, but it is not required, though the general health history is required. And on here, you'll see all the due dates, which are at least 2 weeks before your camper arrives, but would definitely ask that you get those in as soon as possible. And if you ever have questions about these, let us know. And you can always go in and change things later. So let's say you do your health history, maybe you're doing your vaccination history, and your camper has not been vaccinated for COVID yet, but a week before they arrive, they're able to get vaccinated. You can go back in there and change, or if their medications have changed or anything like that, you are able to go in and edit these documents. A few of the things on here to make sure that you look over is if you need transportation. So click on transportation and it'll ask you how your camper is getting to camp, by parent car, or are you needing the bus? And that will get assigned and who will be picking up or dropping off. And the trading post, I know we had a few questions about the trading post, which is our camp store. And so for that, you are more than welcome to put money into your camper's account. It's not going in hand, so don't worry. It is being monitored. It won't get lost. It goes into the bank, so to speak. And campers can spend money in the store to buy souvenirs like t-shirts, water bottles, sweatshirts, pillowcases, all sorts of things, stuffed animals, hats, as well as food items like ice cream, Izzy's, cheese sticks, Capri Suns, all sorts of different snack items as well. Ice cream. I would recommend.
What would be a good amount for a camper who's going to be there for about 5 weeks?
Yeah, we recommend at least 25 a week.
Okay.
But it also kind of depends on, is your camper a big spender? Do they like a lot of snacks? Do they like to, have all the camp swag? Then they're definitely going to want a little bit more. And our CIT campers usually need a little bit more as well, because we do a few other special things with our CITs. They get what we call a CIT night off, where they're going to go out into the community and have dinner as a group versus dinner at camp. And that is taken out of their trading post account. So usually our CITs, I think, have closer to 100. But again, it's up to the camper on how wise they are of a spender.
I think a good rule of thumb there too, Demi, is, think of $25 for snacks for the week, and then swag is extra, right? You want to buy a t-shirt, you want to buy a sweatshirt. And a lot of those things you can buy, the trading post will be open on registration and departure days. But if you're not going to be at camp physically present, then let your camper know maybe to buy that first, and then the rest of their funds is for snacks after.
So if we have a camper that's not into ice cream at all, are there other items there for snacks, or can they bring their own snacks? And what is a safe snack so it doesn't affect other campers?
Yeah, I appreciate that comment. Certainly we have like string cheese, there's beef sticks, there's sun chips, there's goldfish crackers. There's Johnny Pops, which are fruit type of frozen ice cream treats. So those are really good options as well. But if you really think, if none of those things hit it, yep, you can bring a bag, label your camper's name on that bag for their snacks, and we'll actually just store that right in the trading post. So that way they walk up to the trading post snack window, they say, hey, my name is this and I have a snack bag in there. Can I grab one out of there? And that's another really good option. Please avoid peanuts though. We try to make sure that there's nothing with peanuts in our camp store. Or nuts in general. Demi, I'm going to let you look at, there's a couple people that wanted to be moved. If you can look at those.
Yes,
that
now
would
that
be
I'm
really
not
helpful.
sharing screen, I can check that again really quick.
No, good questions about the trading post. And how that works is, so you're going to feel like, and you can monitor your child's spending in the trading post. So if you're really like that inquisitive parent, I want to know how many Kemp Switch ice cream sandwiches they ate so far this week. You can actually log into your child's trading post account from your portal and actually see what they're spending money on and what they're buying. And so it's pretty neat to see that way, because it tracks it right in live time. So and then and if you want to replenish it, you can do that at any point in time during the 1 week or 2 week as well. You just go in there, say I want to add 25 credits to my child's store account. $1 is 1 credit.
Kids can't see their balance, like they can't go check it, but they can ask the staff running the store, how much money do I have left? All right, I'm still just trying to move the last few people.
Sure.
We're no longer alphabetical on my thing, so I've got to search for you a little bit. I've got Ronan, and there was, I think, one more. I'm trying to find Chloe.
And I'll ask her one more question about trading posts. A lot of people say, what if my kid has money left at the end of the week, right? Or so if you've already filled out your form, you'll notice that you have a place in there. If you put $100 in your child's camp store, at the end of the week, you can do a couple of things with that money. If you type the word donate into the box that you put it in, any leftover money that your child doesn't spend will be donated to our camp scholarship fund. And so but if you do not type the word donate in there, that money is reissued to you in a check about 2 weeks after camp. Unless it's like $3.22, we're not going to cut checks under $5. And then we just donate all of those. You can still request it, but generally that's our rule.
Awesome. I think I got folks moved over. There was one that wanted to move that you're no longer showing up on my list. So if you log back in, let us know. But I'm going to go back to share screen. All right, so this is back to what your account will look like. So we were just in the forms and documents section. And one other reminder with health related stuff. In your health history, it's going to ask for any medications that your camper is on. And as a reminder, when you pack those, please make sure that you send them in their original containers. No like 1 week pill containers or anything like that. Please in the original prescription bottle that you got from the pharmacy. So our nurses can classify them how they need to. But on here is where there's some other extra information, like Russ was mentioning in terms of trading post. You can view right here the camp store account. You can see what they've been spending their money on, how much money is left, and you can also add in funds there as well. And so I also wanted to show you how to view photos. So when your campers are at camp, we actually have a photographer and a videographer this summer who take hundreds of photos each day to share with all of their families and friends back home. And as a parent, you will automatically have access to those through your account by finding photos right here where you click on it. It'll bring you to the whole gallery. And of course, these are all last year's photos yet, but that's where you can see photos of your camper. And if you love one of the photos that was taken, there are some options to purchase those photos and stuff as well. If you want your aunt or, you know, another family friend or something like that to have access to these photos as well, you can assign guest accounts so they can also log in and see. And if you want to communicate with your camper while they are here, there's a few options for that. And later on, Margaret will be talking about technology a little bit, but camp is a phone-free zone for campers. Our staff do have phones because that's how we are able to communicate them and handle emergencies and things like that. But campers will be turning in their phones when they get here, so no texting or calling mom and dad, or the other way around. We do love snail mail, and we also offer like email services as well for your camper. So more than welcome to send a letter to camp, packages, care packages as well. Mail gets picked up every day from in town. And you can also send mail early, just to make sure it gets here soon enough, or if you want a letter for your camper to open on that first Monday, you can send it the week before to make sure that it's there. Or even if you are driving your kid to camp, we have had plenty of parents that will hand us a stack of mail labeled Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And then we just keep those in the office and distribute it on the day that you indicate. So lots of options there. And you're also more than welcome to email your campers. We use a program through CampMinder that uses camp stamps, and you do have to purchase camp stamps. It's not just Gmail to me and, you know, I print it off. That would take up a lot of my time and all of our time. So we use the automated system to help us with that. So you can purchase camp stamps, and then you can email letters. You can even like design what the page looks like and things like that to get sent to your camper like instantly. So you don't have to wait 3 days for the letter to get here and then 3 days for them to write back. So that's much more, you know, will be day after day. And you can also purchase return letters. So you can either purchase just you send a letter to your camper, or you can send a letter to your camper requesting them to write back. And that does cost a little bit extra money. And I will forewarn you, I don't encourage it unless you know your camper is going to write back. We get a lot of emails and calls from parents. I sent my camper a letter 3 days ago and they haven't written me back. And we just kind of have to say, sorry, he's busy having fun and his top priority is not to write his parent back. I'm sure you'll hear all about it when he gets back or she gets back or whoever. But yes, we can't guarantee they will write you back. Some campers do, some campers don't. So if you want them to write back, I would recommend have that conversation with them before they leave. But yeah, this is where you'll find a lot of your just general information that you need: photos, financial management, update credit card information, updates, addresses, and all of that stuff.
Just a quick note on when a camper does write you back, it's not going to come to your, like an email to you. It will come to your email address, and the letter they write back is scanned and attached to the email. So basically you'll just look for that. It'll just say letter from Jim and look for open the attachment.
Yeah, thanks, Russ. Any questions in terms of how to communicate with your camper, how to use your parent portal or anything like that?
If we send snail mail, is the address obvious on how to mail the letter?
Yes, it is just our like physical address, 4160 Little Boy Road. Yep.
I mean, for packages too, if you do mail a package, I would definitely suggest trying to get that out the Friday before your camper comes to camp. You know, that you'll, and if you do send a care package, we generally, our cabins are nice, but they're not airtight or rodent tight. So try not to send a bunch of food with your campers. I mean, or, you know, they will have critters eating those snacks too, unless you want to feed the critters right along with your child. But it's, you know, a little fun games, word games, puzzles, things like that. Something that they can eat once they open up their package, but not something they're going to keep with them the entire week. And again, be cognizant of anything you send that a camper could share with somebody else in that cabin, and somebody else might have a food allergy and not know about it. And I'll just share a classic example of this, of how severe that can be. So some wonderful mother sent their son these most delicious muffins that happened to be banana nut, right? And they smelled so good. And the camper shared his banana nut muffins with the cabin, and one of the cabin mates had a nut allergy. So again, that's really hard for us to control. So think about what you send with your campers. I mean, obviously this camper should have asked, but it's really hard to control that. So think about that as well. Thank you.
Well, I have to say, it doesn't look like any campers have rejoined us, so that's good news. They must be having fun. I wish I was on your side of the camera and you could like hear your kids in the other room. I'm just imagining what's going on in the other room on the other screens. But I'm going to pass it over to Margaret now, who's going to cover some info about getting your campers ready.
I got an update from the counselors that are with the campers, and they haven't even gotten into the game yet. They are just asking questions. So they are busy over in the camper section of the Zoom, which is awesome. So I'm going to start with packing tips. On our website, Demi did show you there's a little tab where you can look at a packing list, and that will also be specific to a program. So if your child is coming for an LIT experience, there's a different packing list for that because they are going on trail with CITs too. And then our riding program will have some other things to bring, like closed-toed shoes and long pants and stuff like that. So for sure, look at our online packing list because that will give you mostly everything you need to know. I guess some general tips from being a camper myself and watching campers forget a couple things. I'd for sure pack extra socks, especially if it's a rainy week. Their socks will be wet and soggy and stinky. So extra socks is always good. Extra underwear is always good. I'd for sure just pack extra necessities. A lot of families pack a sheet for their camper, and that can kind of just make an extra comfortable bunk. It's just a twin sheet for their bunk bed, and they'll just also bring a sleeping bag, but you can, for the most part, bring whatever bedding is most comfortable for your camper. Some people bring a sheet and a blanket and a pillow. Some people just bring a sleeping bag. So kind of whatever your camper likes to use while they sleep, I would recommend bringing it because we want them to be comfortable and have a good night's sleep so they're rested. Don't forget rain gear. If it's raining, we are still outside doing lots of activities. We do have extra just in case. And even if it's just a nice big poncho, that's totally fine. But something they can get back and forth to buildings with, rain gear is super important. I also recommend don't forget closed-toed shoes. Closed-toed shoes will be needed if they want to ride a horse and if they want to go ride a bike. And then any games that we play in the evening is in the woods. And it's really important for them to wear closed-toed shoes as there's just sticks. And if they're running with open-toed shoes, that stick will get them right in the foot. And it has happened. So closed-toed shoes, make sure to send those. Medication. You on check-in day will give the nurses station medication, and we need their medication in the original bottle. That was how it was prescribed to them. So don't portion it out into baggies or whatever. We need that actual bottle. So make sure to bring that. Is there anything else I missed for medications, Russ, that you want to add?
Yeah, the original bottle is the key thing. If something changed in your prescription and your bottle doesn't say that, and you come to camp and say, oh, the bottle says 10 milligrams and we do 15 milligrams now, we can't do that if the bottle doesn't say that. Remember, that bottle is an order from your physician, and our nurses have to follow the order from the physician. And so if you have a medication change, and even though maybe you communicated that with your physician, the written notice is what we need on the bottle. So that is so important. It happens every year. And then somebody will come to camp, say, oh, we switched our medication to more or less. Remember, that's a doctor's order for us. And so that's how we have to do it. Well, many times we can get a fax from a doctor or something like that midweek or the next day that will work for us, but we need something in writing. And also over-the-counter medicines, we have most of those at camp: Tylenol, Advil, Claritin, Zyrtec. Generally, you're approving an over-counter medication list when you complete your health form. If there's something particular over the counter that you like your child to have, could be melatonin or something like that, you can bring that and we'll prescribe that again the way it is on that OTC bottle. Other homeopathic medications, again, if they come to us in a Ziploc bag, we can't administer them, right? We just don't know what we're administering. So homeopathic medicines that are in a bottle with a direction on administration, we can give. But if it's something particular, unless you have your doctor write up a standing order or a prescription for that and how it should be given, that's what we have to accept them.
I'm seeing a lot of questions, but if you guys have any questions too about specific meds, or if there's like a special case, we will obviously work with you. We're not gonna let your kid not take their meds. Those are the guidelines we have to follow. But again, we will work with you. Just communicate with us so it's not this big confusing kerfuffle. But for sure, just communicate and we will try and figure it out together.
Yeah, and there are some of the topicals that you might think, like an acne medicine or a foot cream. Those we will allow a camper to self-administer, and generally they will allow to be able to have those in their possession. The same is true for inhalers and obviously EpiPens. So there are a few prescribed medications that we want a camper to have in their possession.
And I do recommend too, if you have a young teenage girl, we do oftentimes see first time periods at camp, which is totally fine. Our staff are prepared and trained to kind of discuss that, and the nurses are ready. We have extra, but it doesn't hurt to have them be prepared and have you guys chat about it before they come, just in case.
Perfect place for the first period is at camp.
Yeah. Cool. Does anybody have any questions about packing or anything before I move on to other things? Cool. First time campers. What an exciting thing to come to camp for the first time, but also what a freaky thing. It can be hard, especially if it's their first time at sleepaway camp, some of their first sleepovers. And there are some ways to prepare your campers, whether they are 7 or 15. Those fears are super normal. So I would say for sure just validate them, because I get nervous for camp and I live here. So if they're 7 and it's their first time, they're for sure nervous. So validate them, explain that it's super normal. For sure tell them that the staff are ready to hang out with them if they get homesick and all that kind of stuff. We have great staff that are prepared and ready for homesickness, fears, and all that kind of stuff. Some things to kind of get them ready is for sure kind of start maybe a countdown or a calendar, have a physical calendar, get them excited and just count down the days until they come. That can be really a fun kind of a visual aspect to see every day. You are obviously going to miss your camper, but sometimes the constant "I'm going to miss you so much" can kind of get them even more nervous, because they're going to be like, oh my gosh, my parents are going to miss me. I have to stay home. And we have seen that. So obviously tell them that you're going to miss them, but don't dwell on the missing them part. Just get them so excited. You are excited to send them. Yeah. Prior to camp, just again, focus on the excitement. You can practice a sleepover if sleepovers have not been constant, especially through COVID. Send them to their grandparents' house or a family member, trusted adult, whoever, and maybe practice a sleepover, because sometimes that can be a bit of a switch. I'd send them with books to read at nighttime. We do see that homesickness heightened at nighttime, especially kind of around dinner. And nighttime routines are very important to children. So we try to get that routine with them as a cabin group, but they probably already have their own routine. So whether it's books or coloring, you can bring a flashlight and they can read. We're going to have quiet time where the lights are out. For sure, bring games. Great question. That cabin downtime after campfire, they have a ton of opportunity to play games together as a cabin. And we also have lots of books and stuff like that for them. So headlamps, absolutely. Kindle. So Kindles, we usually take all electronics when children come to camp. So phones, Apple Watches, and anything that can connect to the internet. So I would recommend bringing a physical book for your camper and not bringing a Kindle because it's just not cabin time activity. So lots of physical books at camp too. And if they do bring those things, we just confiscate them for the week and then we will give that back to them at the end of the week. And we will keep them in a safe space, I promise.
Margaret, that's
Yeah.
a really good point for me to say that, you know, if you're sending your child on the bus, right, the Kindle or their phone on the bus is really comfortable, and we actually encourage that, right? Because on their way home, they can call you if the bus is running late or something like that. But so just to inform them in advance that when they get to camp, they will be turning it in. And we keep them all in Ziploc bags by cabins. They get them back when they go home. But it is a nice comfort to have that electronic piece on the bus, especially if you're on the 6-hour ride from Rochester up to camp or back to Rochester at the end of camp.
Day campers. To kind of get them ready, it's the same prep as you would if they're sleeping at camp. Being away from home all day, especially in the summertime when they're used to being at home with you, can also be an adjustment. But just get them excited, talk about the programming, find out what they're excited for, and then kind of just fixate on that and talk about it a lot. They just want to talk about camp and get excited. So
And
there was a packing.
One of the things with day campers we see is our day campers are generally younger, on the younger side of camp, 5 to 9 years old. And so many of them are even younger than our overnight campers. We don't have very many day campers a week, 10 to 12, but they're going to be exhausted when they come home, because think of being at camp from 8 in the morning till 4:30 when you pick them up. Don't be surprised if they come home and just sleep hard until the next day. And they're hard. We hear this over and over again. I couldn't even wake them up for camp on Thursday. And so make sure that they're getting their rest when they get home from camp.
Another thing to prepare your camper is if they're kind of really talking about being homesick and being nervous, I would really encourage you not to promise to pick them up early. And I would encourage you not to promise to be able to call them, because we don't normally give that time to campers to call home during the week. But sometimes they come because it was promised by a parent, and that is what they fixate on the whole entire week, and they just can't get out of it. So really try not to promise that they will get picked up early. If your camper is having the worst time, we are not going to trap them at camp either. We are going to work with them, try our best to get them to like camp. But if they are just anxious and not having any fun, we are not going to force them to stay. We will work with them. We will work with you. Oftentimes you'll get a call from a counselor coordinator getting tips from you. And sometimes if we do have them call home midweek and it's either great or hard, but that's kind of a last resort. So just don't promise that. But again, we will take care of your sad child if that does happen, and we will figure it out. There was a packing question. I
had a question about storage. Like what kind of where do the kids put their stuff? Because I'm kind of imagining
so the
open
cabins,
space, bunk beds. Is there a little cubby?
Yeah, so there are a couple drawers in the cabins. For the most part, if your child is there for a week, they for the most part just keep their stuff in their bag. But if they are a very organized camper, that's great. A lot of the cabins do have drawers and cabinets, and they can kind of set their stuff up that way. There's not a ton of storage, but usually there's room for campers to move their stuff into storage if they so choose.
Okay, so a little suitcase is okay. Like, is that what
Yeah.
most campers use? Okay, got it.
Yeah, and they just like put it on the end of their bunk or by their bunk. And we try our best to have our campers be as organized and clean as possible. It's not always easy because children under the age of 16 are usually messy, and that's okay. But we will try our best to have them stay organized throughout the week. We do have a clean cabin award, so there's some incentive there.
A mesh laundry bag is phenomenal. So even practice with your campers, you know, they don't have a laundry basket to throw it in, but a mesh laundry bag, you're done, it goes in here. And that it'll help you out a great deal too. So you know what's really clean or dirty, and they do throughout the week.
Charlotte, good question. They are coming back to camp this year. Great question. Does anybody have any questions about first-time campers or anything like that? And then I'll go into kind of what a day looks like at camp.
My son had a question. Is he going with a buddy, whether or not he can be placed in the same cabin as him? I don't remember when we were filling out the forms, whether that was a possibility to do a friend request.
Yeah, so on those forms, there is an opportunity for you to give a request. If you know that someone is coming to camp that your camper doesn't get along with, they can request not to be with someone, or if you really don't want siblings to be in the same cabin, request that. Otherwise, they also can request to be in a cabin with someone. We can't promise it, especially because sometimes the requests are a 12-year-old requesting to be with a 9-year-old or an 8-year-old. And normally we place campers in a cabin around the same grade level and within the same program. So we can't promise it, but if you do request, we end up calling you saying if we can't honor that request. So your camper will have a warning before they come that they won't be with a buddy, and then we'll try and figure something out.
And then are there bunk beds? So it's sort of first come, first serve. Okay.
Yep.
Okay, one
Yep,
last
bunk
question.
beds.
My son is a huge chess fan. Do you guys have board games like that on hand, or should we bring his own games?
We do have a big chess crew at camp. Lots of staff get into it with the campers. He can totally bring his own set, but we also have full sets here. I know some staff members that are going to be excited that campers are going to be interested in chess.
I actually
any other-
have a question too. Sorry.
No, it's okay.
How do we have communication about any of the food allergies? Like my celiac son for the gluten-free foods. Is somebody going to call me, or how do we coordinate that?
Yeah, so usually when a counselor coordinator sees that, any sort of dietary stuff, we call you a week prior just to work some things out, and you can bring snacks and stuff like that. And there's also opportunity for you to fill that all out in the medical form. So we will have that flagged before they get here. Russ knows a little bit more about the kitchen and kind of how we accommodate different.
Yeah, so
dietary needs.
gluten-free, celiac or gluten-free at meals is generally pretty well accommodated. So lots of options there. One of the things we would suggest, if there's certain foods your daughter or son really likes that like is a staple for them, maybe pack some of those. And then when you come, we can either put those in the kitchen or maybe it's trading post time. There's something like that. So if there's really the snack items is probably the biggest key thing. But if there's some staple that, you know, he's like, wow, this is going to be really help him have a successful week at camp, we certainly encourage you to bring any of those things along. But generally, all of our meals will be able to accommodate gluten-free, peanut-free, and then vegetarian, vegan options as well.
Okay, so yeah, we'll just communicate prior, just making sure, because I did get an email saying they would need me to supplement some stuff. So I just didn't know how that would be.
Yep, and as time gets closer, you'll hear from the counselor coordinators or others.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Sorry, everybody else.
No, thanks, Jacqueline. Good question.
Yeah, that's a good question. And if it is getting, if you want to communicate sooner too, just email us and we can get the ball rolling sooner too. Cool. Daily schedule, a day in the life of a camper is a fun, busy, awesome day. Half of it, they will get to decide what they do, and half of it, they will be with the cabin. So in the morning, we will wake those tired campers up, whether they like it or not. Sometimes it is hard getting them out of bed, and sometimes it's easy. So they will get out of bed and they will go to breakfast, and that is when a lot of them will get their AM meds. With the nurses, they will be at all the meals to distribute meds. And then in the morning, they are going to be with their cabin group. So specialty campers, they're going to go to their specialty program. So whether that's sailing, horse riding, mountain biking, anything like that, they will go to their specialty group. And the discovery campers, they will have 3 different activities in the morning for about an hour. And so they will get to filter through each activity as a cabin group. Lunchtime is great. They are some hungry campers at lunchtime, and they are ready to scarf some food down. There will also be a mail call, so that is when they will get their mail and packages. So that's also an exciting time because they are usually pretty excited to find out if they get some goodies. In the afternoon, they do get around a 30-minute siesta. So that's just quiet time. They sit in their cabin and they can read a book. And it's just a time to chill. Afternoon. So if your camper is a Voyager camper or a Pathfinder camper, they will stay as a group, and your camper will be kind of assigned activities in the afternoon. And if they are older, then they get to sign up for an activity and they get free time. It's a great way for them to meet new friends outside of their cabin group, hang out with their cabin group, whatever they want to do. And they can sign up for certain activities. There is a snack time in the afternoon. And that is where they will go to Trading Post. And this is just for ice cream, popsicles, little snack. And again, they are hungry at this time. We have a lot of hungry campers. Dinner time is around 6, I think. I think it's at 6. Dinner's at 6. And then after dinner, we will have an all camp game, which is so fun. So we will play Capture the Flag, Lord of the Rings, so many fun games. And it is such a great way for all camp to be together and do a big, loud, great activity. Capture the Flag is my personal favorite. So if you want to get them excited, see if they want to be on the yellow team or the red team. Go yellow team. After the evening game, they will then go down to Trading Post, and this is an opportunity for them to get another snack if they'd like. Usually it's just like string cheese, beef sticks, pretzels, stuff like that. And then it's an opportunity for them to look at the souvenirs. So this is when they can get t-shirts, sweatshirts, water bottles. I will say, I know we touched on this before, but talk to your camper about waiting to get those souvenirs. They get very excited, but all of a sudden it's Tuesday and all of their money is gone. So I would recommend discussing with your camper, try to have them wait until the end of the week to get their souvenir, so they have enough money for snacks throughout the week. It's always kind of sad when they come up for a snack and then they don't have any money left. What else? Lights out, so bedtime. We have a campfire after Trading Post, and that is another way for all of camp to watch funny skits and sing songs together, hang out, and then after that, it is time to go to your cabins. And I think all camp lights out, pretty sure is 10:30 at the very latest. We do try to get our younger campers in bed right after campfire, so that's around 9:30. They go brush teeth, then have their quiet time, and they're in their beds reading. Good question. In each cabin, there's about 8 to 10 kids, and then plus the staff members. Trading Post. I think online we have a list of some souvenirs for Trading Post. Is that correct?
It hasn't been updated quite yet. We redid our website. And with that, we've just been waiting till we get the new items, and we will post that in there. So stay tuned for the list.
So in the cabin, there is 12 tops normally. whether that is 8 kids and a couple counselors. It just depends on how many campers we do have in that cabin. And then sometimes there will be there's always 2 counselors, and sometimes we add a third, just depending on numbers. Does anyone have any questions about the day in the life of a camper, packing, anything like that? I see some funny smiling faces. Becky,
I have a quick question. Do you have, at the post, do you have ice for, like, if the kids want to put ice in their water bottles throughout the day?
good question. We do not have ice. I will say our water is pretty cold. It's a really good temperature and they will be refreshed. We don't offer ice, but we are lucky with nice, delicious cold water.
Okay, thank you.
I presume there's counselors that are telling the kids constantly like what to go to next and what the options are, or is there
Yeah.
something we have to do to prep to kind of understand?
No,
choice,
so
like activity
after
choices?
lunch, in the morning, your camper will be with their counselors. They will know exactly what to do. In the afternoon, we have announcements. So each program area will go up on stage and do a funny skit, make all the campers laugh, and then they get to choose where they want to go. They sign up for stuff, and there's counselors everywhere. And so they will know where to go and what to do in the afternoon. And again, we have at the beginning of the week, we have a like rotation where the cabin group will go around each program area, learn all the rules, meet the program area staff, see where it actually is at camp. So we start off the week with a really good orientation so they know what the week looks like and what program areas are offered and where they are. Sweet. Any other questions?
Are there any things we should be aware of that you've had with other camp experiences, like ticks, or I know just any other sort of special considerations? We're a first-time camper family.
Yeah.
That's one. And then the other question is, what? Actually, I forgot what my second question is. So I was just
That's
sorry.
okay.
I
So
can-
ticks are around and they are already out. What I did forget to mention through our program is Discovery campers go on a one-night camping trip to our Sherds property, which is 3 lakes, and they cook out there, they sleep out there, camp. It is a great opportunity for them to learn how to camp. But that is oftentimes when we see ticks and mosquito bites. So again, I do recommend bringing bug spray. We will have some on hand. Counselors are very good about having your camper do tick checks, and that's when they go to the bathroom, when they shower. The counselors will tell them to do a tick check in the shower, and when they go to the bathroom. Last summer was a really light tick summer, I will say. So we were lucky there, and I'm hoping again for this summer. And the nurses are very good about spotting a deer tick. And then we watch that throughout the week to make sure that there isn't any bullseye or any sort of reaction to the tick bite.
Yeah, there's certainly some environmental hazards of coming to camp. The sun is one of those, right? So if your child is very susceptible to sunburn, make sure you're packing, the appropriate sunscreen for your child. Mosquitoes, we will see mosquitoes this summer, and instruct your camper if they react, wearing long pants at the appropriate times in the evening before campfire, things like that. Same with ticks. We do our best, but we don't spray or purposely do any type of or pesticides to get rid of any type of insects in camp. We also feel there's negative effects to that. And then in the water, once in a while, some kids will react to certain waterborne things. It's not uncommon for us at one point in the summer have a little swimmer's itch, but lately it's not been an issue at all. So we watch all those things, and with swimmer's itch, If you shower right when you get out of the lake, you're fine. And if we know it's a problem in camp, then we actually make it mandated that you shower after getting out of the lake. But we also know a brisk towel after you get out of the lake and briskly drying yourself off can also prevent any swimmer's itch as well.
Okay, so those are going to be my two other questions. One is on swimming safety. I'm presuming you have lifeguards, and my son is a pretty strong swimmer, but if you could just sort of describe how much permissiveness you give campers to swim if there's a swimming test, like when you first start out. So that's my first question. And then the other one is if there's any incidents of teasing or bullying, just how you handle that. So those are my two remaining ones.
Yeah, so to first start lifeguarding, I am actually going to certify a lot of staff this summer. So we will have freshly new lifeguards that are ready and prepared. When your camper gets here, we have a swim test. So they just have to tread water for a certain amount of time, be able to swim back to the dock successfully, and we will have lifeguards in the water watching that. We are very lucky to have an awesome crew of lifeguards every summer, and a lot of them. So they are going to be trained. A lot of them are just going to be recerted, so they have been lifeguarding for a long time. So a great crew, and our swimming area is roped off, so they can't just go swim anywhere. If they swim outside of that roped off area, they are wearing life jackets, and we are very strict about life jackets. When they're on their camping trip, they have to wear life jackets swimming, so lots of safety there. Bullying, it happens at camp, unfortunately. We can't stop it. We have great things in place to kind of mitigate that. And I guess there are consequences in place if it gets that far. I oftentimes don't see it get far enough where lots of consequences happen because we have great staff that are there to mitigate any bullying issues that arise. I hope that your camper feels safe enough to talk to our staff about if there are some things that happen. We really try to get our staff as involved with our campers as possible so they feel safe and comfortable telling us when something happens.
Yeah, that last point is really important, Margaret. Make sure you have a conversation like you should with your children whenever they're going somewhere else where you're not close by them about communicating with a safe adult. Whenever they feel uncomfortable, intimidated, feel they're bullied or wherever, they should always feel comfortable talking to a safe adult. And that counselor in the cabin should be. All of our staff have gone through background checks and national sexual offender checks. So we know, right, our staff are there to protect them and look out for them. But talk to your campers always about making sure you communicate as my son or daughter to an adult person at camp. If you ever feel uncomfortable in any situation, whether that be at camp or anywhere else.
Yep, and for the most part, your camper will never really be alone without a staff member. There's staff members at every program area. And in the morning, the counselors will be with them the whole time. So thankfully we have great counselors that will be aware and ready to step in if needed. And they are oftentimes, your camper will not be alone unless they're in the bathroom, of course. Great question though.
Yeah, I think that's actually a perfect segue to next kind of on our agenda is to talk about what kind of training does our staff receive. You are entrusting us with your pride and joy. And really they do become our pride and joy, and our counselors love what they do and are so into providing the best week that they can for your camper and making sure that they are providing that safe space. So all of our counselors, like Russ mentioned, go through background check, they go through a sex offender registry check. We do reference checks on all of them. They go through a pretty intense application and interview process. We pick them because of the qualities they display and the commitment they have to the work and what it takes to be a camp counselor. And our staff training, so all staff are required to attend staff training, and at a minimum, that is 6 days, roughly 60 hours over those 6 days. And that's at a minimum. We do have a lot of staff that are going to be doing extra trainings on top of that. So all of our counselors go through training and what we call Counseling 101. So how to, just what is their role at camp? What is their role in caring for other people's children? And then going into more deeper strategies of behavior management, age characteristics, group dynamics, all of those things our counselors get training in. They do various scenarios as well, discipline, behavior management, all of that. And then they also get training in health and wellness, how to respond to anything from, a sliver to more extreme injuries, and how to get the resources they need. With our nurses, we have 2 nurses on site every week that are very quick to respond when needed. And we also have, I would say, around probably half of our staff, if not more, have first aid CPR training. And then we have another good chunk of staff that have even higher levels, whether that be wilderness first aid, wilderness first responder, lifeguarding, all of that. They also get training in group games and how to really encourage inclusion, those time killers in between transitions and things like that, risk management, emergency procedures, what happens if there's a fire, what happens if there is a missing camper, all of those things they get training and practice on. They also get additional training in how to supervise and help teach at all of our different program areas. And they can also opt into advanced training in some of our program areas as well, if they will be spending more at one in particular. They get quite a bit of training in just camping skills in general. Our staff also go on an overnight, like our campers do every week, to really get used to how to set up camp, get familiar with starting fire, setting up camp, and teaching and supporting others while they're doing that. We have training in harassment and mandated reporting. So all of our staff are mandated reporters, which means if your campers disclose to us that they have experienced abuse, physical, sexual, emotional neglect, we are mandated to report that. And also we provide staff with extra training in how to spot warning signs, how to make sure they're keeping themselves safe, how to spot what we call like tricky people. Again, our staff have gone through a pretty vast selection process, and but there could be those times, or if our campers are trip campers and they are off camp, how to spot and keep campers safe outside of camp too. And they also have quite a bit of training in diversity, equity, inclusion. In the last couple of years, we've really expanded that training and have brought in multiple external trainers to camp, as we're familiar with, and I think a lot of you would probably see as well. Historically, camp is a more white place and much more comfortable for people that are not from marginalized communities, but we are bringing in more and more of those, because camp is a safe space for all. And so getting our staff trained in how to handle those issues when they come up, if there's a microaggression, if there is bullying, different things like that. How do we handle those? How do we prevent those as well? And every year we bring in more and more people. We actually have 2 different training organizations coming in this year to help with training for that as well. And our management staff also go through a few extra days of training beyond what our regular staff go through as well. So any questions on staff training or who the heck you are putting faith in to watch your kids for a week? Awesome. And hey,
I have one. I have one.
Yeah, go for it.
So Kaylin is a certified lifeguard with the CPR with the Y in our community, and our community-wide pool is being closed for a while. So this makes an opportunity for her to come. She's just wondering, should she bring her fanny pack with all of her safety stuff in it as well?
So as a CIT, no, you get to
Okay.
have fun while you're here. If you come back next year and want to work, sure, but this year you're for fun.
Okay, so you don't need, if she saw something, she's just to notify the lifeguard that's on shore.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Good question. All right. If there's any other questions, pop them in the chat. Otherwise, I'll kind of move on to our last couple topics here. So I know we had a few questions come up from registrants wondering what stayover campers do. And when we refer to stayover campers, that means campers that are here multiple weeks in a row. Some campers may come for session 1 and come back for session 7, but we may have campers that are here for session 1, 2, 3. So if they are here for multiple weeks, when you select transportation in your forms, you have the option of selecting stayover, which just means that your camper stays on site over the weekend. Or if you're local or you want your camper to come home, that's a-okay too. You can pick them up on Saturday and drop them back off on Sunday. So if they are sticking around for the weekend, it kind of looks like a regular camp day. We have still counselors that they are with. They most likely will move cabins for the weekend. We try to congregate everyone into a few cabins, so we're not all spread out throughout camp, and that we're able to have counselor supervision. So keeping them within a contained space in those cabins, though they can oftentimes leave their stuff in the cabin that if they're staying in the same cabin from week to week, they can move their stuff and keep it there and just have their sleeping things in the new cabin. But yeah, counselors will be there like normal. They will do program activities during the day. There is a little bit more downtime, some sleeping in, some extended siestas. And during the weekend, those campers also will have access to their electronics, not whenever they please. It is still at specific times throughout the weekend, though, that they will have a few hours here and there to call back home, check their social media, whatever it might be. But otherwise, it looks pretty same to a typical camp day, except much smaller. So typically in a camp week, we have about 160 campers on site. On a stayover weekend, we have anywhere from 10 to 60 stayover campers, so it can really vary. And if campers are staying for 3 weeks or more, they are able to get laundry done on site. We won't do laundry for 1 week or 2 week campers unless it's more of an emergency, or like they are completely out of everything, or there was an accident and we need to wash their things. We'll do it if we need to, but it's not an expectation that campers will get their laundry unless they're here for at least 3 weeks. So if campers are here for 2 weeks, please try to pack enough clothes for them for those 2 weeks. Any questions about stayovers? I know there was a question on how to kind of indicate if they're a stayover or not, or transportation. Again, all of that will be in your forms. And when you select transportation, you can select whether they are taking the bus, if someone's picking them up, or if they are staying over.
Demi, can a question
Yeah.
about the transportation? Can a mentor bring the camper and not the parent? Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, you can have a non-custodial guardian, or even your neighbor, whatever it might be. Anyone can pick up or drop off, though we just need to be aware of it. And in the transportation section, you'll identify who is going to be picking up or dropping them off, because we will verify those names when they come to pick them up.
Okay, and that could change. That could be maybe a fluid thing. Can we put that in like the day before or whatever?
Yep, day before, or if it's even the week of the day before that, you know, they're already at camp and someone else is picking them up, just email, call, or text us. If it's more of an immediate thing, just so we're aware, because we want to make sure that we are sending kids with who they are supposed to be going with. Yeah. Awesome. Just a couple last few other things to share. I know last year we had I felt like we had a lot of announcements last year in terms of new things. Because I think during the last summer, we had the opportunity to really do a ton. And a lot of those were already planned, but gave us time, and our property kind of rested and regrew as well. So we didn't have quite as much time this year. And frankly, it's still feels like winter up until yesterday. So it's been hard to do too many projects, but some exciting things are we've got more bikes now to our mountain bike fleet. We got 6 new bikes. So that is exciting. We're hoping for a few new horses in our herd as well. Switching out some old ones, getting some new ones. We've added some additional sessions, not so much new programs yet, but we've expanded sessions. So we have extra mountain biking sessions, 2 this year versus usually just having 1. Same with fishing, 2 sessions instead of just 1. We've had tons of interest in our leadership in training programs. So we have doubled a lot of our LIT2 programs that are 8-day boundary water trips. We typically only have 3 that go out each summer, but this year we have 5 because the interest has been so high, which is fantastic. As many kids as we can get out into the woods, I feel the better. I'm trying to think if there's any other big news. Nothing too new yet, but something to look forward to in future years, and right now it's in the development stages, is developing a whole new art center. If you've been to camp before, you've heard of the craft shop, you've seen the craft shop. It's definitely a shop versus center. It's big, but still quaint in terms of what it could be and how many people we have at camp. So really almost doubling the size of that space, and adding in additional programs. And I would say in the future, expect to have a specialty art camp, similar to our horseback riding camp or sailing camp or mountain biking camp. There'll be plans to have an art camp as well, with many more projects to do outside of just friendship bracelets and painting and things like that, really expanding to perhaps creative writing, theater, photography, pottery, things like that. So that's in the works. I believe we're breaking ground in 2023, the fall of 2023. Hopefully I'm right with that, meaning it would be ready to go in 2024. And so if any of you have tips and things you'd like to see in that over the next kind of year or so as we're developing that, we'll be reaching out for feedback too for what y'all would like to see. But yeah, so that's in the future. Margaret, Russ, am I missing any other new and exciting things for this summer?
No, I think that's great. And, you know, new and exciting is a lot of new staff members. So lots of first-time staff members that'll be working.
International's coming back. That's pretty exciting.
13 international staff members from
more than that.
More than that, yeah. And so lots of opportunities for your kids to grow and learn from others. And we're excited about that, as well as international campers as well. So really great opportunities for them to be exposed from just, and one of the things I think with that is talk to your campers about, especially if they are coming with a friend, exposing those campers to others, right? It's really easy to come to camp with your best friend and all of a sudden they're not best friends anymore when they go home because they met another best friend. But just know that give your child permission to make new friends at camp. I just can't emphasize that enough. I mean, we look at the key elements of camp: growing in confidence, becoming more independent, new friendships, and developing new outdoor recreational skills. And if we can accomplish those 4 things for your kids this summer, wouldn't that be awesome? But your kids need permission to not be best friends only with the person that maybe they came to camp with, because that's really hard on them. So give them permission to make new friends at camp.
I'm seeing our campers are joining us back. I would love to see like a thumbs up or thumbs down, like how was it, campers, staff? I see some thumbs up. Yes, yes. That was like perfect timing. We ended kind of together at the same time. But yeah, now the floor is open for any other kind of last minute questions. And of course, if anything comes up after this, call, email, we're here for you. So feel free to add things into the chat or come off mute for any other questions.
Yes, Keelan was wondering when the amount will be pulled out of her account to pay for camp. Do you have a date for that?
Usually about 3 to 4 weeks before their start of the session. So if they're coming here June 12th, it'll be very soon.
Okay.
The final amounts are pulled. We try to have balances paid off 3 to 4 weeks in advance of your session.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yeah,
And then,
thank you for asking.
will there be any more paperwork to sign when we drop our students off?
The only other paperwork when you drop them off will be that attestment document I talked about in the beginning, providing all of your forms were turned in advance.
Okay, and does the parent have to, or can the mentor sign that?
Whoever the parent or guardian is who's bringing that child to camp can sign that.
Okay, all right, that sounds good.
Good questions. Well, thank you for your trust in us. Thank you for joining us for this conversation. I know people have tagged off that were maybe with us in other years and heard this many times before. We're excited. We're excited for a great summer. Excited to have your children with us. And we know that we hope that they will grow and learn and come home a more spirited individual when they return from camp.
I think that's a good spot for me to kind of end the recording, but we will stick on for a few minutes if there's any other questions. And thank you all for joining us tonight, and can't wait for the next month to pass. And soon enough, all these campers will be here in person, and our staff, and even getting to see some of you parents when you drop off your campers as well. So thank you for joining. Enjoy the rest of your 4th, and happy Mother's Day to any mother figures out there this next weekend. So yeah, enjoy the rest of your evening. Thanks for sticking on.